Liz had asked me to share my testimony like last week, and I said yes, obviously, so I'm here. And as I was thinking about what I was going to say, the verse that Christy just read came to my mind. And when I read this passage, I didn't think about just Jeremiah. I saw myself. I saw someone called by God to do his work and immediately felt like I was not qualified to do his work. I was somebody who doubted their ability, someone who didn't know what the outcome would be, someone who was afraid to say yes. And if I'm honest, that has been my journey here in church. Saying yes has not always come easy for me. There have been many times when God has placed something in front of me, and my first response was just like Jeremiah, Lord, I can't. I cannot do that. I am not ready. I don't know what to say. I don't know how this will turn out. I don't know if I'm strong enough. I don't know if I have enough time to even work on a testimony. But as I've learned in Methodist tradition, we believe God's grace goes before us. Before we ever say yes, God is already working. Before we feel ready, God is already preparing us. And before we step forward, God is already making a way. And like you guys, I heard the news today of Pastor Harley being called to lead his own church. And I was like, okay, God, I see you. I hear you. This is why I was called to give this testimony tonight. Jeremiah felt too young. And I'm not talking about chronological age per se. Sometimes we're young in our walk. Sometimes I'm young in my Methodist walk, right? I've been a Christian my whole life, but I'm new to the Methodist church. So I feel too inexperienced, too unqualified. But God never changed that assignment. He changed Jeremiah's perspective. God told him, you must go wherever I send you, and do not be afraid. That's what saying yes looks like. Going when you don't know the destination, serving when you don't know what the outcome will be, showing up when you don't know what will happen next. And I've learned something along the way. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the call. And that truth is what's carried me through very difficult yes moments in my life. Because if God only called people who were ready, who were confident, and who had everything figured out, many of us would never be used to our fullest potential. But God calls the ordinary people, the uncertain people, hesitant people, and he equips us to serve him. One of the hardest yeses I've had to say throughout my life was saying yes to fostering. Stepping in to help when I didn't know how things would turn out. When you foster or support someone in crisis, you step into uncertainty. You don't know how long they'll stay with you. And for those of you who don't know mine and Dustin's story, we were foster parents for nearly 30 children. Sorry, I'm going to cry. Try not to cry. You don't know how long they're going to stay. You don't know how attached your heart will become. You don't know if the ending will be joyful or heartbreaking. And boy, were there so many heartbreaking moments. And I remember thinking, Lord, I cannot do this. But just like Jeremiah said, I can't speak. Just like we say, I can't handle this. Just like we feel like we're not enough. God did not accept Jeremiah's excuse. And he didn't accept mine either. He simply said, you must go wherever I send you. And I have learned to respond, here I am, God, send me. Give me a second. There are times when saying yes meant opening my heart without guarantees. Loving deeply without knowing the ending. Showing up for children and families when I didn't know what the future held. And those moments stretched me. Those moments challenged me. And those moments pushed me beyond my comfort zone. But thankfully I said yes. Because if I hadn't said yes, I wouldn't have these two beautiful little girls sitting in the front row that I get to love every day. And Methodism teaches us that faith is lived out in action. Faith is not what we believe, it's what we do. Faith shows up, faith serves, faith loves, and faith says yes. There were also times God nudged me to say yes in the church, to support the youth group, to deliver announcements, to serve communion for the very first time on Easter Sunday. And boy, that was an experience that I'll never forget. Or to step into other leadership roles, like giving you guys my testimony tonight. And I hesitated, and I wondered if someone else would be a better fit. I wondered if I had enough time here at the church to even make an impact, or what I would say would be meaningful to you guys. I wondered if I had enough emotional strength. I just wondered if I was simply enough. But God wasn't asking me to have all the answers. He was just asking me to be willing. The Lord told Jeremiah, "Do not be afraid, for I will be with you." And that's what the promise that carries me through every difficult yes. Because saying yes doesn't remove fear. It just means trusting God more than your fear. There are times I showed up feeling completely inadequate, serving in the church when I wasn't confident in myself and the traditions of the Methodist Church, supporting a child needing stability, and walking beside families through uncertainty. And in those moments, I realized something powerful. God doesn't require perfection. He requires obedience. Methodist theology speaks about sanctifying grace, and that idea that God grows with us as we walk in obedience. That means we don't have to be perfect when we say yes. God shapes us through the yes. He strengthens us through the yes, and he teaches us through the yes. I didn't become strong before I said yes. I became stronger because I said yes. Every difficult situation has stretched my faith. Every uncertain moment deepened my trust. And every time I showed up not knowing the outcome, God met me there. And sometimes ministry does not look like standing up here with a microphone. Sometimes ministry looks like opening your home for children in need, or answering a late night call from a friend, or sitting in someone in silence who might be going through a difficult time, or stepping in when it's inconvenient. And every one of those moments requires a simple yes. Jeremiah didn't know what people would say. He didn't know how difficult his assignment would be. But God told him, "Look, I have put my words in your mouth." That reminds me that God equips us as we go. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have the perfect words. We don't have to have everything figured out. We just have to be willing to show up. And believe me, there are moments I wanted to say no. Moments I was stretched way too thin. Moments I wondered if I had enough to give. And every time I said yes, God provided what I didn't have. He gave me strength when I was tired. He gave me peace when I was uncertain. He gave me wisdom when I didn't know what to say. And he gave me courage when I was afraid. And looking back, the hardest yeses became my most meaningful part of my testimony. The yes to fostering, the yes to help, the yes to show up and serve, and the yes especially when I didn't know what the outcome would be. And those moments became the places where I saw God the clearest. Because if we wait until we know the outcome, if we wait until we know what's going to happen, we will never say yes, because we're not going to know. God calls us into the unknown, so we learn to trust him. Your yes might not look like mine. Your yes might be mentoring, or it might be serving in the church. Your yes might be supporting someone in crisis, or your yes might be just simply showing up to church. Whatever it is, whatever that hard thing is, I just want to encourage you to say yes. And whatever that yes is to you, remember that God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And when he calls you, he also promises you, "I will be there with you." Sorry, I can't look at Pastor Harley. So today my testimony is this. I don't always feel ready, and I didn't always feel qualified, and I didn't know how things would turn out. But every time God called, I said yes. He met me there, and that's his promise to you too. He will meet you where you're at. You just have to show up. And through his grace, he prepared me. Through obedience, he grew me. Through uncertainty, he strengthened me. And now I understand the yes I was afraid to give became the testimony I now share with you. So if God is calling you to say yes, even when it's difficult, even when it's uncertain, and even when you don't know the outcome, just trust him. Say yes when you're afraid. Say yes when you're not qualified. Say yes when it stretches you. Because that yes is going to be the most amazing ending and the most amazing testimony to how God will use you. Because he will do exactly what he promised. He will go with you. And he will give you the words and strengthen your heart. He walks with you into the unknown. And one day you will look back and realize your yes became someone else's blessing, and your obedience will become your testimony too. Thank you.